How's everybody today? Hey, can I have this? So the story goes, 16-year-old boy goes and sees his dad, and he's like, hey, Pops, I need to borrow the car. The dad says, hey, about that. There's kind of three things I wanted to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about, you can drive the car, but we need to work on your grades. They got to get up. He says, and beyond the grades, I'm going to have to start seeing you reading the Bible every day, right? Everybody down with that? And then he says, and the third thing is you're going to have to get your hair cut. So, a month or two goes by, and this 16-year-old boy, he goes and sees his dad again, and he says, hey, Dad, I need to borrow the car. And his dad says, hey, listen, let's talk about those three things. I see that your grades are up, so great job, son. And he says, I can see that you're reading your Bible every day, but what I can't understand is why you haven't cut your hair. And the son says, hey, Dad, I've been reading the Bible, and I know that Jesus had long hair. Paul had long hair. All the disciples had long hair. Samson even had power in his hair. And the dad said, yeah, and all those people walked. Glad you're here today. I'm excited. We're starting a brand new sermon series called Serve Like Jesus. We're going to tackle some big ideas. Today we're going to talk about being faithful in service. We're going to talk about being bold in witness, extravagant in generosity, and being grateful in the grind. We have to serve like Jesus, don't we? There's no way to get around it. What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to do it? Right? There's the questions of the universe. There's an interesting passage. There's times I want to know. I have an inquiring mind. Like, what do we do? Why do we do this? Why do we do it? Right? Why do we do it? Sometimes it almost feels to me like it's a check the box type of thing. Well, I need to go to church. Right? Anybody ever felt that way? Listen, can we be honest in this space? Right? I only got like 3 people says, yeah, we can be honest. I don't know about the rest of you, but I feel like being honest. Sometimes meeting together corporately seems like maybe it's kind of a forced thing, right? It does. There's an interesting passage in Acts chapter 19. The 7 sons of Sceva. Sceva was a high Jewish priest. And his 7 sons, they wanted to, it reads almost like they want to get on the action of Jesus. So they start trying to drive out demons out of demon-possessed people. And they run into this guy who's possessed by a demon, and this demon actually responds to them audibly. That would be freaky, right? That'd be like a Hollywood horror type thing, right? This demon responds to them verbally, and he says this, Jesus I know, and Paul I know about. But the demon says, but who are you? Jesus I know, Paul I know about him, but who are you? And sometimes I feel like, who are we? Right? Who are we? What are we doing? You see, I want you to make a difference. I mean, is this all about just being good, moral people? Because how boring is that? You're like, oh, what did you just say? Yeah, how boring is just getting together every week to be good, moral people? I'm over that already after I've even said it. I mean, I want to be a problem for the enemy. I want you to be a problem for the enemy. I want you, whenever you move into your neighborhood or you go home, like the enemy forces are like, crap, it's one of them. Like when you come into your cubicle, your office, the demons are like, oh my gosh, we got one of them. When you're at the baseball game, whatever, wherever, we got to deal with one of them. I know who they are. I know who they are. I mean, we're stuck in this drama of the universe, right? And we gotta push back darkness and provide more light. Isn't that what we do? We push back darkness and give light, the light that God gives us through his son Jesus. And if you dig Jeremiah if you like Amanda, you like what they're doing, and you really love what JT does up here, leading worship, and you like the way I talk, man, if that's it, we've failed you. We've just failed you. We need to be a problem for the enemy. We need to be a problem. What if somebody described your actions with the word always? Probably somebody's already done that to you before. I know my parents, you always, right? That's a lot, isn't it? Always. Well, what if somebody did describe you? They are always doing, and then fill in the blank, right? What are they always doing? What would others say that you are always doing? Maybe for some of you, they say, well, he's always encouraging, or she's encouraging, or maybe it's like, well, they're always griping, complaining, finding faults maybe. Or maybe they're always finding the good in a situation or the good in people. Maybe they're always working, or maybe they're always playing video games. Over here. Some of you. They're always playing video games. There we go. We got one back. There you go. They're always playing video games. No shame. No shade, right? They're always playing video games. Maybe they're always working out. They're always working out and posting all their stuff on Instagram. Y'all get tired of that? There's a guy that I follow. I shouldn't follow him because he makes me gag, right? But he's on my Instagram page, and he's like a former SEAL, and like every day he takes a picture of his watch at what time it is when he starts working out. It's 4:33. Put in the work. I'm like, no, thank you. Good for you. Or maybe he's always about the business or sharing the good news. Maybe they're always sharing the good news, or maybe they're always scrolling on TikTok. Listen, I'm not going to give you like a news flash, but we live in a self-serving, self-gratifying, self-promoting culture, do we not? We do. I mean, you can go to Google right now and just look up like self-promotion, and you'll see books written, articles written, the art of self-promotion, 6 ways to get your work discovered. There's another one. Forbes had one. Self-promotion is a skill. Promoting self is a skill. There was another one, 40 ways to self-promote without being a jerk. Some of y'all need to read that. Like today. Just kidding. Do you know that more than half, like 54% of kids, this is like back in 19, 54% of kids under the age of 18 want to be a celebrity. They want to be a YouTube star, an influencer, right? That's what they want to be. Can you imagine being that as a career? I don't know, it kind of looks good, but man, I think it would weigh heavy. They want to be the GOAT, right? And maybe some of you old people, right? Some of you people who are up there in age, why do you want to be a GOAT, right? Student section, can you tell us what the GOAT is? Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Michael Jordan, greatest of all time, right? They want to be the GOAT, the greatest of all time. We're self-promoters. We're all about us, right? Somebody say amen. But listen, here's what Jesus says in Matthew 16:24. And he is diametrically opposed to our culture today, church. He says this. He says, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. But I want to be a YouTube star. Or I want to do this, or I want to do that, or I want to do this, and this over here. And Jesus says, yeah, but if you want to follow me, if you want to be my disciple, I'm going to need you to deny yourself. I'm going to need you to forget about yourself and put others first. You're like, whoa, I didn't sign up for that. Right? I didn't sign up for that, Pastor Jason. I need to be the GOAT. Selfless and denying yourself. He also goes on to say in Matthew 23:11, right, about being the GOAT, he says, the greatest among you, is it up there? Finish it for me. The greatest among you will what? Will be your servant. The greatest among you will be your servant. So what are you always doing? There's a cool story in the book of Acts, chapter 9. We find this story about, I think she's like the first female to be mentioned in the New Testament, besides Jesus' mom. That's not true. That can't be true. Delete that. It's gone. Anyway, we find out this girl, her name's Tabitha. And in the Hebrew, or in the Greek, her name is Dorcas. Probably need to have a conversation with her parents, right? Yeah. You parents wanting to name your kids all these weird names, listen, they got to live with that forever, right? Think about it. Dorcas, her name's Dorcas, and in this story, and you can find it in Acts chapter 9, she actually dies, and Peter, right, through the power of God, through the power of Jesus, he resurrects this lady named Dorcas, or better known as Tabitha. And through her resurrection, many believe. But before that, in Acts chapter 9, right, at verse 36, here's what it says. In Joppa, there was a disciple named Tabitha. In Greek, her name is Dorcas. Here's what it says. She was always doing good and helping the poor. She was always doing good. That's a lot, isn't it? I mean, you're always doing good. Can I say that about you? I know you can't say it about me. Don't even try, because you'll mess up. Because I'm not always doing good, and I have a hard time believing that you are either. But here it says, right? Here it says that she was always doing good and helping people. I don't know, maybe she sewed clothes for the poor. Maybe she was caring for the widows. Whatever it is, she was always doing good. Instead of serving herself, she was always serving others. So how do we become, if we want to serve like Jesus, right? How do we become faithful servants? Some of you might say that, well, Jason, I don't have a lot. I mean, I don't have a lot. I ain't got no money, right? I live paycheck to paycheck. I can't sing. I get nervous when I speak in front of people. I can't do what you do, right? I got a dear friend, right? And he's always saying, he's smart. I mean, he's smarter than I can ever think about being. But he's always like, you can command a room, Jason. I'm like, that's just because I'm loud. Amen. There ain't no skill to that, right? There ain't no skill to that. You just talk. Maybe you're thinking today that I don't have anything to offer. I can't be a servant because I can't do anything for God except for be in the back and be quiet. Here's what I want you to know, right? Ephesians 2:10, can we pull that up? Ephesians 2:10 says this. I want you to read this out loud, please. For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. Did you hear that? Hands, did you hear what you read? You are God's masterpiece. No one said amen. You are God's masterpiece. That sounds like you might want to believe it, right? Maybe. Listen, does God lie? Can he? He can't do it. And God says through his word that you, not like all of you together, you individually are God's masterpiece. You're God's masterpiece. But no, you're God's masterpiece. And he says here that he created you new in Jesus to do what? The good things he planned for us long ago. I don't know what you think about yourself today. I don't know how you view yourself. I got an idea that you probably view yourself like I view me sometimes, and that's like I am no good. I'm no good. I don't have any skill. My life's crumbling. I can't keep these relationships that I have together. I'm struggling. But yet God says, I'm his masterpiece. Sounds good, doesn't it? Just to me? It sounds good, doesn't it? Yes, you are his masterpiece. I could beat this dead horse forever. And you have to get to the place where you buy what God's selling you because his word is truth, the ultimate truth, and he says you're a masterpiece. So how do we become a faithful servant? I got 3 things that I just want to throw at you today. I got bring a lunch, I got offer a ride, and carry a towel. Bring a lunch. Let's just dive into this real quick. Bring a lunch. Everybody heard of King David? Right? King David. What is he best known for in Scripture? Some of you say he cheated on his wife, right? No, that's probably not the one. We know he killed a giant, didn't he? He killed this Philistine named, what was his name? Goliath. And I don't know, he was a big guy. That's what he's known for. Matter of fact, he kills Goliath and he goes back to Jerusalem. And the women, listen, the women were lining the streets singing songs about David. Men, have you ever wanted to come home and have your wife just sing you a song about you? Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing to hear like, hey, here comes Jason. Woo! The greatest. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. But he comes back and the women are singing songs about him because he killed this giant. Bring a lunch. People loved and honored him. And he was the baby of 8 boys. Jesse's kids. 8 sons. David was the baby. And you'll read in that passage where the Hebrew guys, the Israelites, they're out fighting the Philistines. Well, they're getting ready to fight, but there's this big giant, right? And they don't really want to get after it with him quite yet. And David's dad in 1 Samuel 17 through 18, he says this, the 1 Samuel passage. Okay, there you go. One day Jesse said to David, and I get this. One day Jesse said to David, take this basket of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread and carry them quickly to your brothers. Let's go to the next one. And give these 10 cuts of cheese. Cheese sounds good, doesn't it? Smoked Gouda? Yeah? Anybody? Give these 10 cuts of cheese to their captain and see how your brothers are doing and get along and bring back a report on how they're doing. You see, most people think that David was beloved and great because he killed a giant. And I would suggest to you today that David started to become great when he brought a lunch. Anybody with me? When he brought a lunch because his dad says, hey David, listen here, I need you to do this for me. I need you to carry this food to your brothers. I need you to carry this food to your brothers. I need you to make sure that your brother's captains get some sustenance, get some food, right? And I want you to get a report, and I want you to bring that report back to me. Notice he didn't say anything about killing a giant. It was only after, I think, right? It was only after, I believe, that David was doing the insignificant things that God gave him the opportunity to do the great things. In this self-promoting world, we want to do great right off the bat, don't we? We want to do great right off the bat. We want to be the best right out of the gate. It happens all the time. Go watch a Little League baseball game, and you'll find out really quickly you got to be perfect all the time. Anybody in the room played baseball? I want to see hands. Come on, let me see them. Right? A Hall of Fame career is a 300 hitter. Only 3 hits out of 10 appearances at the plate. What kind of weight are you putting on your shoulders today? I think we need to do the insignificant things before we get a chance to do the great things, right? I think that we need to bring a lunch because the greatest among you Jesus says, will be your service. We also need to offer a ride. Listen, 553 years before Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey on Palm Sunday, right? The prophet Zechariah in the Old Testament prophesied that Jesus would do exactly that he would come humbly on a donkey into Jerusalem. That doesn't make sense, does it? The King of the world, the creator of the world, John says in his gospel that Jesus was God and he is God and that he created everything. But yet Jesus rides in on a donkey. Think about it this way. Think about some red carpet event like in our culture, right? Think about, and then let's say it's an actor or a musician and their agent says, hey, I need you to show up to this red carpet event. I need you to show up on a moped. Kind of like the Dumber and Dumber style. You know, when he shakes, where'd you get that thing, right? Shows up like that, right? Shuts it off. No. We're thinking like stretch limo, right? Paparazzi everywhere. The best clothes, the best shoes. Somebody say amen. Don't forget, right? That's what we think about. And this is Jesus, King Jesus, the Savior. Shows up on a donkey. Luke 19:31. Check this out. Jesus tells his disciples, listen, I need you to go to town and get this donkey. He tells them right where it's at. And he says this. He says, if anyone asks you why you are untying it, say, the Lord needs it. Now, I'm not giving you, right? I'm not giving you the idea that you can just go take everything you want. And when somebody says, hey, why are you taking my car? Well, the Lord needs it. Right? That would be nice, wouldn't it? Well, the Lord needs it. But that's exactly what happened. And the disciples go and they get this donkey that had never been ridden before. And it happened exactly like he said. The owner, and all we know is that if he probably owned an animal, he was probably a wealthy guy in that culture. And he says, hey, why are you taking the donkey? And they said, the Lord needs it. And the guy said, we don't know what he said because it's not in there. Evidently, he was like, sure thing. Bring a lunch. Offer a ride. If the Lord needs it, then give it. Bring a lunch, offer a ride. And my last one today is carry a towel. It's just before Passover, a Thursday night, and there's a secret meeting in an upper room, and Jesus and the disciples are in there. And Jesus is hearing all this stuff about what's happening, and he's told his disciples many times before, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to die for the sins of the world, right? And we know Peter wasn't having it. We know the disciples, they can't believe this. They're, no, we can't do it this way. And Jesus in John's gospel, John 13, 4-5, he says this, it says this, John writes this, so Jesus got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet. Who has a foot problem? I know a lot of people have feet problem, right? I know a lot of people get weirded out about feet. They're ugly, right? Even when they're clean, I don't know, you know. You ever seen some toes that go way out this way? It's like, yeah, you've been wearing your shoes too tight for a long time. Began to wash his disciples' feet. Now, in this culture, it was a common courtesy, right? After a day's travel or coming across town, right? They've showered, they've bathed, right? But their feet get dusty because they got open-toed sandals on or wearing no shoes at all, right? So it's common courtesy for the host to provide that service for his guests, but it was never the host that did it. It was always an employee or a slave even that did the low task of washing feet. They would call a servant a low and humiliating task. It wasn't no pedicure, right? It wasn't like, hey, sit down and put your feet in this hot water. It wasn't like that. But Jesus, after dinner, we know there's selfish hearts in the room. We know there's men in the room that don't completely understand what's going on, what Jesus came to do. They've heard it, but they haven't bought it in their heart yet, right? And he gets up from the table and he starts washing dirty feet. He grabs a towel and starts washing dirty feet. And I got to remind you, this is Jesus. This is Jesus. Somebody say who this is. It's Jesus. It's the Son of God, the living water, the Lamb of God, the true vine, the bread of life, the light of the world, the living stone, the King of glory, the Prince of peace, the great high priest, the righteous judge, the chosen one, the King of kings, and the Lord of lords, the Alpha and the Omega, the Redeemer, the rock, the sanctification, the righteousness kneels and washes feet. That's what Jesus did. You see, we have to look at the insignificant. We have to be a servant. We have to serve like Jesus. Bring a lunch, offer a ride, carry a towel. Because when you serve others, you are serving Jesus. When you serve others, you're serving Jesus. There's people in the New Testament, they said, Jesus says, away from me, you never knew me. And he says, hey, when you went to visit a person in prison, when you gave a drink of water, when you put clothes on somebody's back, when you let them in your house, right? When you do all these things, you did them for me. They said, Jesus, we never did that for you. And he says what? He says, when you did that for the least of my brothers and sisters, you did them for me. So what does that mean for you this week? What does it mean for you where you work and where you live, right? And where you operate from? It means you have to be a servant. It means the greatest of all time isn't for you because there's already been one and he's coming back and he's the greatest of all time, and that position isn't for you. It's not for me. Jesus holds that position, and only Jesus. And we're called to be servants. Can't do much, but it's the little things. It's the little things, the insignificant things. So I want to tell you right now, what you're doing, right? Keep it up and more. What you're doing now, keep it up and more. Hold a baby, greet a guest, open your home, carry a bag, welcome a stranger, love a teen, love a child, read to a kid, cook dinner, give a coat, do something. Bring a lunch, offer a ride, carry a towel. Jesus said, the greatest among you will be your servant. I don't know where you're at today with Jesus. I don't know if there's one in the room that's been hearing the call of the Holy Spirit for a long, long time. Maybe today's the day. Maybe today's the day that you get hooked up with the King of the world. With the King of the world that created everything, that holds everything together, but yet is so concerned about your life. Nothing happens to you that he doesn't see. He loves you. He knows so much about you that he knows how many hairs you have on your tiny little head, or your big head if you're like me. He knows every minute detail about you and your life. And Jesus is God. He lived on this earth, walked right here where we are, not where we are, but on this earth. He was limited by the things that you're limited with. He knows what it feels like to hurt. He knows what it feels like to be lonely. He knows what it feels like to be humiliated and cast aside. He knows all about that. And he knows you. So today, if you don't know Jesus, man, I ask you, make that decision today. Or maybe there's one in the room that has taken for granted this walk with Jesus for a long time, and maybe it's just become something that you used to do, but you don't do anymore. Maybe today is a time that you can say, you know what? I'm tired of playing. I'm tired of the enemy saying, who are you? I want to be a problem for him. I want him to say, I know who you are. Because you represent Jesus. If that's you, come pray. Why don't you stand up?